Hey guys, what's going on? In this video, we're going to talk about something of incredible importance, and that is how can you identify as a trader some of those 90% type trades where you can be almost 100% confident, 90% confident that your trade is going to be successful. There's certain characteristics that goes into such a trade. They do not, like every trade is not the same. So when you get into the trade, it's good for you to understand when should you stick with the trade, when should you bail out on the trade, and what are some of the factors to pay attention to. So in this video, I'm going to basically lay out a blueprint of what we look at in a high probability trade. And again, to help you understand, which you should already know that, you've been watching most of our videos here in the channel, 13 market moves stop trade is not a trade where you jump in at 9:30 in the morning and you get out at 9:34, hopefully with a couple of $100 profit. That is not the type of trading that we do here at 13 Market Moves. We chase home runs. We identify these opportunities where you can stick with the trade, hold with the trade, that's going to gain momentum at certain instance throughout the week, which could accelerate your returns to the magnitude of 5x, 10x, 20x at times. So the blueprint and the factors that we're looking at, I'm going to show you, and we're going to do it on the example of FSLR. FSLR is a solar stock. I've been watching for many years. For those of you that have been around for a little while, FSLR used to be a stock that used to trade between 40 and 60 bucks. And while the market kept rocketing higher, FSLR really hasn't been doing a whole lot. It's been in the range between 60 and 100 bucks in the last few years. So while all these stocks kept rocketing and rocketing higher, FSLR really has been a huge underperformer. And what we're noticing right now is a huge TRO in FSLR, beginning with RSI, beginning with a lot of other things. And I'm going to point out some things to you that you could be paying attention when you're trying to identify trades like this. But we believe FSLR can easily hit a level of 200 bucks, guys, not tomorrow, but in the next few months, in the next 4 to 6 months. I wouldn't be shocked if FSLR actually hits 200 bucks, definitely in the next 12 months. So if you have a longer term outlook and you're looking for some opportunities where you can just buy calls and stick with them for a longer amount of time. Maybe you're working or running a few businesses and you just don't have time to be glued to your computer 100% of the time. This is it. And I'm going to show you how you can identify more trades like this one. So the 5 simple facts you wish you knew yesterday, guys, which you would have known if you traded with a 13 Market Moves coach. Give us a call here at 13 Market Moves if you are trying to advance your trading career. So here's the blueprint, okay? I'm going to give you an illustration though that even though I'm going to reveal this entire blueprint, it really depends on the trader psychology or whether you're going to be able to take advantage of this crazy material that I'm about to reveal to you. And I'm going to show you a quick illustration. So I trade with many traders. So here's trader 1 on August 25th. As you can see, we've been bullish on FSLR during this whole market downturn. We started in the last 10 days. As you can see, August 25th, I'm sending the alert to this trader saying, hey, FSLR calls, buy 124 strike calls, buy 130 strike calls. What does the trader do? He tries to get filled. He's like, hey, I didn't get filled at the mids. The next day, the trade opens up 6 points higher. It was an easy 4x, 5x trade. Missed it. Why? Because sometimes, guys, trying to save a few pennies on getting filled, and I get this question a lot. Leo, should I put a market order? Should I put a limit order? Guys, it depends on what instrument you're trading. If the spread is too high, clearly you don't want to be using a market order. But when you're getting an alert from me or one of the coaches here, guys, your goal is to execute the trade. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're missing on a 5x trade because you're trying to save 50 bucks on execution of the trade. So if the spread is low and we're expecting a big move in the stock in any particular moment throughout this week, you don't want to be utilizing limit orders. You want to just go ahead, go for the kill, do that market if the spread is low. So don't be trader 1 who misses out on a 5x trade because he's trying to put an order at the mid. Now, August 25th, here's trader 2, guys. Trader 2 saying, hey, FSLR 126 strike calls. Okay, buy today, exit tomorrow. He's like, whoa, it's dropping. Leo, it is dropping. I say to him, it doesn't matter what the stock does every 5 minutes, guys. We focus on where it will be tomorrow. okay? You don't buy the stock based off, oh my God, it's dropping, I'm gonna buy puts. No, it doesn't work that way, okay? You have to have a certain time horizon on your trade. Now, clearly, if your outlook on the trade is next 3 minutes and it's dropping now, okay, that would make sense to see what the stock is currently doing and, hey, could it possibly drop just a little bit more? Now, that is not going to make you a ton of money. So the way you get paid as a trader is exactly the opposite of what 99% of the people are going to teach you out there. Most of these people that teach you how to make $100, guys, that's probably the limit of what they're able to show you in trading. We've shown you many times how our traders that are taught our 13 Market Moves program, they're able to exceed $1 million mark, not within 10 years, but within 6 to 12 months. A lot of people, guys. We've got over 20 traders that have reached over $1 million plus trading with 13 Market Moves in the last couple of years. So if you want to be that next trader, all right, don't focus on what the stock or whatever the underlying that you're trading is going to do in the next 5 minutes. Focus on where it will go next, where it will be tomorrow, where it will be by the end of the week. So normally, if we're bullish on a stock like FSLR, if it's dropping, this actually means that this is where we would be buying calls. You don't want to wait for something to keep exploding higher, and buy it on a move higher. You want to buy something that overall by tomorrow is heading higher. You want to buy it on the drop. Therefore, instead of just sitting there putting the mid order, you would be timing when the stock pulls back throughout the day, a couple of bucks to get in on the call side. So this trader basically is dropping. He later messaged me like, hey, Leo, I'm going to wait till it drops to 117 and I'm going to get in. Well, guess what? The stock never drops to 117. The stock pulls back to 120 when I sent him the message to buy it. He kept waiting to get in when the stock was going to give him even a better opportunity. He missed an entire trade, guys. 5x trade gone right in front of this dude's eyes, okay, because he was focused on what? Look, he even sent me this chart right here. He's like, oh, Leo is dropping. See, the chart here is at like 120, 143. It hits that level. It begins to drop to like 120. He's like, no, man, it's dropping. I can't do it. I'm going to wait till it drops more. So sometimes there's small differences, guys. Trader 1 misses on a 5x trade. Why? He tries to put the order at the mid. Trader 2 misses out on a 5x trade. Why? Because he's trying to wait till the stock is going to give him even a better entry opportunity. Okay, now here's Trader 3. Trader 3, hey, add 20K to FSLR 130 strike calls next week expiration. Okay, done. There's no discussion. There's no picture sent. There's no, oh, I'm going to wait till the drop. Like, Trader 3 just does exactly. He's on point. He gets stuff done. Okay, which one of those traders do you think is collecting the profits the next morning? Okay, and look, the traders, like, you can't, the size of your account doesn't matter, guys. Okay, whether you're trading with 2K or 200K, I mean, this trader's loaded up with 400 FSLR calls, okay, the day before it pops 6 points. I mean, you could see, you know, I mean, so we're ready to cash out next one, 144K. Basically, guys, you cannot hesitate. You cannot think about it twice. You know, when we're talking 13 market moves, it's time to take action. So when you're coming in here trying to enroll to trade with a coach, if you're selected to trade with a coach, then make sure you're ready to execute. Okay, we can chat later after 4 p.m. You can ask questions, you can do all that stuff, but when you're getting a message, it's time to get into a trade. It's time to take action. So FSLR daily chart, now we're going to talk about the factors that contribute to this blueprint trade. And so this was before the Powell speech. I actually made these slides before the Powell speech. And throughout the Powell speech, we kept staying bullish on FSLR calls because of some of the characteristics that I'm going to reveal to you now. So the general misconception, okay, so let's break down the myth. I'm going to be a myth buster here for a second. The myth is this, that when RSI is overbought, when it gets to this level of like 80, 90, it's time for you to get out of the trade. Now, that was something of just conventional statistics that an average trader would use, okay? Now, it is absolutely incorrect if you're trying to nail home runs. In such cases, when you study the best stocks in the history of the stock market, such as Netflix and Tesla and so on, this RSI, once it gets to this level of 80, 90, it does not give you necessarily a signal to sell right there And by no means should you be using only one indication to get in or get out of a trade. So oftentimes a typical trader, they disregard this very aspect that once the RSI gets to this level, it could stay there for months, such as in many historic examples with again, stocks like Netflix and Apple and so on. This could stay here for 3 to 4 months before it could begin to drop off. So if you are a trader that typically looks at RSI from a conventional, normal perspective, well, it's at 80, 90. Maybe I should go short. I mean, look at this thing. The whole market is moving higher, and the whole market is crashing, and this thing is going higher. Maybe this is the time to short it. And this is how a trader gets killed, because he thinks, well, it's overbought. Sure enough, the market is dropping. This thing is going to drop, okay? And they buy puts instead of doing what we do here. We buy calls because we're not just focused on this. Now, think about RSI as this. This is the conventional way of looking at the RSI, which I just told you. If you're trying to make home run trades, not just make a couple $100, that this is not the way you should be approaching the RSI indication. But also, if we're to spell out RSI, it is relative strength index. Relative means you're measuring something in relation to something. Well, the way the RSI works is basically we're measuring here how strong is the price action in the stock relates to the past action in the stock. So in this case, when you see the RSI moving higher, all we're measuring is how does this particular stock measures up against its past performance. So in this case, clearly, the RSI just keeps moving higher and higher. But there is a greater aspect when it comes to relative strength, which is never gets talked about, is how does a stock actually behaving in relation to its own sector, in relation to the market itself. So when we're going to look at FSLR relative strength, not only should we pay attention to this stuff right here, but we should also be considering how does this stock is and price action in the stock relates to the rest of the market. So if we're to dig deeper just a little bit and focus on this thing, so this was before the Powell speech. You can see that the market was dropping here slightly. We actually nailed that point right here, 43.10. I remember sending out a bunch of alerts. Hey guys, anything above 4,300, we short, we short, we short. So you guys made a ton of money if you partaken in that trade. If you missed it, guys, you should join the alert group. The message was loud and clear, short, short, anything over 4,300. But notice, when the market is dropping, when we identified this perfect entry on the put side, okay, what was FSLR doing? Well, it wasn't doing, like, look, it was just going sideways. So when the market was dropping, FSLR was moving sideways. So just looking at this, how would you rate FSLR relative strength in relation to the rest of the market? Well, majority of the stocks were dropping, right? That's why the index was dropping. But FSLR was not dropping. It could have dropped a lot more, right? It could have dropped a lot more like some of these other stocks, right? If we measure relative strength of FSLR, for example, in comparison to a giant stock like Google, investment bank's favorite, one of the top favorite stocks over the last couple of years, right? Well, Google, as you can see, pretty strong move lower. RSI is dropping off, okay, while FSLR is doing what? Well, FSLR is moving higher, and its relative strength in relation to killer stocks like Google is actually increasing. So FSLR strength in relation to some of the heavyweight champs of all times is actually increasing. FSLR relative strength in relation to the entire market is increasing. So apparently somebody is buying, okay? Because you have to understand, for these other stocks to drop, for the market to drop, I mean, the number of sellers basically has to outnumber the number of buyers. Well, that's not the case, right? That's not the case. Despite of market weakness, the number of buyers in FSLR is actually exceeding the number of sellers. Now, this is interesting because this is a simple case of divergence. You hear me talk about divergence all the time as a great way to identify some of the trades right before some of the big moves happen in this killer trading opportunities. And so this is a simple form of a divergence. You look at the relative strength of FSLR in relation to its own strength. Second thing you do, you look at the relative strength of FSLR in relation to the market, and then you combine some stocks from various sectors, right? We compared it to one of the FANG stocks and compared to all of them. I just didn't have time to insert all the slides, but you can also compare it to other sectors. For example, you'd want to compare it to something like mRNA. Why? Well, because mRNA recently, not so long ago, had some strong moves, right? From 120 to 195, almost $200. So really strong performance in Moderna in the last couple of months, right before the market started showing some weakness. Moderna sold off, right? So against some stocks that recently has performed better in such stocks like mRNA, the relative strength is dropping. So not only the relative strength of FSLR is exceeding some of the greatest stocks, it's also exceeding some of the momentum stocks that recently had some strong runs that almost doubled, right? And it's important to basically take the stock that you're looking to trade, that you're looking to plan your trade on, and compare it to various sectors. We can actually go even further and compare FSLR to some of its peers in the solar sector, which it has also outperformed. You can find that out on your own. There's only one stock, which is ENPH, which has outperformed FSLR. So the point is simple, okay? The FSLR stock is exuberating some signs that the number of buyers is definitely exceeding the number of sellers. And it is happening at the moment while the rest of the market is showing weakness. Now, that's the first part of the puzzle. We clearly see divergence there. Now, here's the second part of the puzzle. FSLR keeps rocketing higher despite of ton of downgrades. So despite of ton of downgrades, if you've been following the stock, you can see here, horrible earnings report, but instead of the horrible earnings report, what happens to the stock? It gaps up, right? And it never looks back with the exception of a couple of days where it makes minor small pullbacks, which are buying opportunities. And basically, it's important to pay attention to not the news, but when an analyst is downgrading a stock, and it is a well-respected analyst in the Wall Street community, and despite of observing what would normally happen, which the stock should drop, instead of that, it keeps moving higher, especially on the day of the downgrade, guys, that is something to pay attention to because that is a TRO. The rest of the market does not agree with that analyst. They're like, fuck you, Joe, okay? This shit ain't dropping. It's not going to drop. You can downgrade this thing all you want. I'm going to buy it despite of what you think. So when you have an instance where the stock is getting hit with some bad news, and it's one thing if you observe one downgrade, but it's another thing when you have 2-3 investment banks downgrading the stock at the same time, all right, and the stock price, the price action does not agree with it, okay, it means two things, that if it's going to keep happening, all these analysts that were downgrading the stock recently, and I'm just referring to here, guys, all of this stuff is happening from July 25th, right, through now, like August 30th. And basically, this often will result at some point in a short squeeze because all these analysts, they're coming downgrading the stock. Well, it's easy to downgrade the stock when it's trading close to all-time highs. And then they realize, oh shit, we were wrong. Hey, it's busting out higher. And what happens is, guys, you can easily get a massive short squeeze. Now, the short squeeze, based on short interest in FSLR, is only going to last about 2-3 days. But hey, that's enough to propel the stock in the near future, guys. In the next 3 to 10 days, this thing could shoot up to $150 easily. Now, if you observe some of the other bullish components here in the chart, guys, look at this. You clearly have a massive bullish crossover. In many videos, you often hear me talk about a bearish crossover downward, okay? But in this case, it's a bullish crossover. And this is especially important when it is accompanied by some strong volume. As you can see, if we compare the volume right here to the volume on this side, look, these breakouts and moves higher, they're accompanied with a significantly higher volume, which later he could be repeated to where the stock exhibits similar volume characteristics, especially during the short squeeze. We could see even buying bars on those days exceeding the buying volume bars that we have seen recently around August 1st. So we'll take a look further at some of the other things. Let's glance now what actually has happened after 1,000-point drop after the Powell speech. So after the Powell Wyoming speech, basically what we've got is the market crashes 1,000 points. What does FSLR do? Absolutely nothing. It's actually moving higher, right? So the rest of the market was dropping. FSLR was in top 5 stocks that day. It actually finished in the green. So what I've shown you on the prior few charts is confirmed again. So the trend here in this particular stock, despite of what the market is doing, the stock is not responding. The stock is not responding in the way that all the other stocks are responding. And this could be observed exactly prior to a stock making a huge breakout. So basically FSLR says, hey, we don't give a shit what Powell says. Hey, we're going to buy this thing anyway. All right, so now just for a quick comparison, what happens to Google, since we've used it on the prior example, well, clearly Google drops even more after the Powell speech. S&P 500, huge move lower after the Powell speech, okay? So again, we're noticing a huge confirmation on the relative strength of FSLR in relation to other market components, market sectors. All right, so let's take a look at the FSLR daily chart. Now, this daily chart was taken a few days ago. So again, the general misconception on RSI, we've addressed that. We've talked about the volume characteristics. Sometimes MACD is going to give you a false signal where it looks like it's going to move lower, but in reality, it's going to straighten itself out and make another leg higher, which oftentimes will be accompanied with an increase in volume. So this golden cross is exactly the opposite of what you guys heard me talk in many videos referring to the death cross. This is exactly the opposite of the death cross, and it's highly bullish. Now, if we take a look at the weekly chart of FSLR, guys, oftentimes third time is the charm. Third time is the charm. In this case, it's definitely it. So record increase in number of contracts we're observing on August 25th. In the 125 strike, we had close to 15,000 contracts. We've never observed this sort of volume in any given strike in FSLR in a long time. And we think there's going to be a record number of contracts trading in FSLR calls going forward from now, which is the end of August, going into September, October, November, December. We're going to see a record volume in FSLR calls. We could see similar, if we look back in the history, we had similar sort of circumstances right before Tesla breaks out from 350 level. I know to some of you that are new, you may be confused. Why am I talking about 350 on Tesla? I'm referring to the point a few years back when Tesla was trading between 3 and 350, and it had similar formation on what oftentimes could be referred as the triple top. But sometimes those tops will be broken, and it's important to observe this buying behavior, which I'm pointing out to you in order to make this decision whether something is going to break out higher or lower. Once Tesla broke out above that 350 level, Tesla actually did it on the 4th time. The probability that FSLR is going to do it on the 4th time is unlikely because we're seeing a lot of characteristics pointing to the fact that FSLR break is going to happen now, like today, in the next 7 days, in the next 14 days, we're going to see a huge move in FSLR higher. And the similarities to when Tesla broke out, and I'm referring to that 350 level, was before any stock splits in Tesla. So that was before Tesla shot up all the way to 2,000, and they did a 7-for-1 stock split. That was before Tesla just recently did another 3-for-1 stock split. So basically, we're looking at about 10-to-1 stock splits, which would have put Tesla after that breakout to a point of $3,000 if Tesla never split the shares. So basically, we're talking about a potential 10x increase in the price of shares. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be the next Tesla. Price action wise, I'm not sure if we're going to see a 10x in FSLR, but we could see a mess. I mean, at some point, this could be right here a $400 or $500 stock. I'm not saying this year. I'm saying maybe looking at a 5-year horizon, this could be it. And the early inning of that next move to where the stock is going to progress to the 200 level, 250, 300. This is how it looks right here, guys. This is your blueprint, okay? The whole market is weak. The stock gets to this level, and we send you a bunch of alerts. Hey, 121.69. And I'm getting messages from like a lot of traders, and they're like, Leo, what are we doing? Buying calls. This stock is at all-time highs. Damn right. We're buying calls at all-time highs. We're not buying it at all-time highs of the day. We bought a bunch of calls on the dip, and we send you a bunch of alerts about it. But the point is, there is a moment in time when the chart is going to look like this, and the behavior is going to be highly bullish, which is going to be portrayed in the buying behavior by institutional investors. They're selling some things, and that's why overall the market is dropping, but they're buying some things. So this is one thing that they're absolutely buying despite of the weakness in the market. So when you see an increased number of contracts in a particular stock that if you follow a stock, normally you don't see before, you see this huge increase without the increase in the put buying volume. So the one thing we've pointed out in the alert group for you guys is when the number of contracts in August 25th and the 125 strike went up like crazy. It was like 70x the average volume. We also noticed that the put volume did not increase at all. So we had a circumstance where, you know, the calls were outscoring the puts like tremendously. This sort of ratio we have not seen in a long time. So when the price action is also supported by the volume, that is highly bullish. When the rest of the market is dropping and the price action, the stock you're looking to trade or be bullish on, keeps moving higher, it tells you that there's big money behind the stock. And so there's multiple factors here that point to that not only the price action was backed by strong volume, an increase in volume, it was also accompanied by a huge increase in the number of contracts. So everything lines up here perfectly, and at some point, this multi-top formations, they are destined to be broken. And in this case, that's exactly what we've got, right? When I'm referring to, this is an option chain back from probably a week ago when we were getting into this. We're buying these 125s for like 20 to 30, 40 cents. And the next morning they were worth, you know, over 250, $3. I mean, this is like overnight, guys, 5-6x trade overnight based on all the factors that I'm showing you right now. Now, notice that we were buying these calls when the stock was at 118.7, and we've pointed out major bullish divergence, number of calls in 125 strike, 70x. You would have had all this information, right? We basically pointed out if it clears 121.5 today, which was at that point, I think August 24th, it can easily open around 127, 130. The next day, which was the 25th, we got a huge pre-market gap up in the stock. So easy trading opportunity. Now notice that at the same time that morning, Bank of America completely changes its stance. Now, early in the video, I have pointed out how over the course of the last 45 days, many analysts were downgrading the stock. But now we're seeing the first analyst actually upgrading the stock from neutral to buy. We believe that that moment, this could be just one of the few analysts to begin upgrading the stock. Now, in the last couple of days, guys, we've seen multiple upgrades. Like, there's literally almost every day now that a new analyst on Wall Street is coming out and is like, hey, hell no, I'm not going to be a bear in this thing. I'm changing my price target. I'm changing from sell to buy, neutral to buy. I mean, everyone on Wall Street is just beginning to be bullish on the stock. Basically, what I'm saying is there's huge room for more analysts to turn bullish on this thing over the next 2-3 months. And so this stock's got a ton of energy, solar energy, if you will, to run higher. Guys, I'm going to summarize everything that I've showed you just on the chart. So basically, the trade summary, the blueprint, right, is you want to identify a stock that has been underperforming in relation to the market for quite some time, but now is showing some signs of strength or bullish divergences in relation to the rest of the market. So when we look at FSLR, it's been trading between $40 and $100 for the last 12 years, severely underperforming the market. But now, as pointed out in multiple charts, we're seeing major recent, I mean, these major bullish divergences in the stock are in the last 30 days, guys. And these market divergences are continuing despite of the weakness in the market. So despite of the downgrades, despite of the market weakness, the stock keeps rocketing higher. Those are factors 2 and 3 for you to consider. Number 4 is the chart pattern is set for major breakout. Now, I haven't included those slides in here, but if you were to pull up the chart of FSLR on multiple time frame charts, you will see a pattern that could be resembling a cup without a handle. Now, sometimes the most common pattern known to bulls is cup with a handle, but there is a variation of that pattern that is known cup without a handle, and that is exactly what we're looking at here. Now, some time frames you could see a resemblance of cup with a handle, but you have to look at probably 20 different time variations to see that. So 13 market moves sequence 777, guys. Once you get a 777 sequence, if you studied the 13 market moves formula, guys, it basically gives you a 91% chance of the stock moving continuously higher, not just one day, not just 2 days, but multiple days. I mean, it can literally move higher 5 to 10 days in a row. Now, historically, this pattern is highly comparable to the one we've seen in Tesla before Tesla really shot up from 300 to 3,000. Now, that move in Tesla didn't happen overnight. It took a few years, but we could be at the very early innings of a similar move in FSLR. Now, elevated probability of a short squeeze could be the factor which could give the stock certain days or the next few days to where these moves are like 10% a day move. So FSLR could be moving from 125, 127 bucks is where it's traded now as I'm recording this, all the way to 135 bucks within a blink of an eye because of a short squeeze combination with all the other factors I've shown. So bullish catalyst of the local inflation reduction reform is the reason probably most of the banks are looking at buying the stock, because it is very well positioned to outperform a lot of stocks. Hey, free money, guys, they're jumping in on this thing. So we'll see more analysts turn from bear to bull in the near future. We think that trend is going to continue where the bears are going to drop out. And not only are they going to drop out and just turn neutral, we see a lot of bears that have maybe accelerated actually turning entirely 180 degrees and turning bullish on this thing. So guys, if you want to learn more about charts and divergences so you can understand how to look at the trade, how to analyze the trade, how to identify these trades to where you don't have to worry about jumping in, jumping out, how can you have full confidence where you look at a chart, you look at the market behavior, you look at the 13 market move sequence, how can you sleep well at night holding a $400,000 position? Okay, what can give you the confidence to ultimately do such thing? Well, we can help you learn a lot of things. Trading with a coach, guys, is the easiest and the fastest way to, curb your learning curve when it comes to trading. So I invite everybody to enroll at 13marketmoves.com. Enroll at least in a free call. There's nothing to lose. It's a 20-minute coaching call with a senior trader. You have nothing to lose and a lot to gain, guys. Trade with a coach today. Make your dreams come true as a trader, guys. I'll see you in the next video soon. Let's roll.